Have you ever noticed that the women who seem to respect you the most are often the ones you've had the courage to say no to? Have you found that the moment you start giving a woman efforts lead to less appreciation? Not. Here's a hard truth that might ships. The quickest way to lose a woman's interest is to never weaken the peace. Say yes to her every desire, and you'll create harmony and lasting love. It sounds noble in theory, but in practice, this approach often creates the opposite: contempt, boredom, and eventually abandonment. Why? Because a woman's love and attraction work differently than a man's. Until you understand this difference, you'll keep making the same painful mistake, believing that more accommodation equals more love, when in fact, too much accommodation kills love. Think about the early days of a romance. A woman often falls in love with a man who has his own life, his own purpose, and clear personal boundaries. He was attractive to her, precisely because he wasn't available at her beck and call. He had something of value, confidence, purpose, independence, that she couldn't fully own or control. But what happens too often? Flattered by her attention and eager to make her happy, he starts to surrender himself piece by piece to please her. Maybe it starts small, but it snowballs. First, he gives up his hobbies and passions, spending that time on her interests instead. Then he drifts away from his friends, focusing all his attention on her. Next, he sacrifices his independence and personal boundaries, letting her make all the decisions to avoid upsetting her. Finally, he even relinquishes his backbone, afraid to ever disagree or assert himself. Suddenly, the very qualities that made him attractive in the first place, his self-possession, his distinct identity, have vanished. She got everything she said she wanted from him, and yet, in getting it, she lost the very thing she actually needed to keep: feeling attraction. This is the fundamental paradox of always saying yes. When you give up everything for her, you stop being the man she fell for. Why women are drawn to what they can't fully have. Here lies a core insight into the psychology of desire. Women value what isn't easily obtained. We treasure what we earn, or what maintains its own independent value. If something, or someone, is always available without any effort, we subconsciously start to take it for granted. Feminine attraction in particular is fueled by this dynamic of challenge and mystery. Women are often drawn to what they cannot fully control or predict, even if they aren't consciously aware of it. A woman's love, when it's genuine, can feel all-consuming. When she really loves you, she doesn't just want a casual part of you. She wants to merge with you completely. It's not because she's malicious or needy in a negative way. It's often a sincere biological and emotional instinct. She craves your attention, your time, your thoughts, your affection in full. If it were possible, she might want to crawl into your mind. Love wants to absorb you. But here's the catch. Giving in 100% to this consumptive love will actually destroy it. It feels counterintuitive. You'd think giving her everything she wants would secure her love. In reality, the moment you make yourself completely hers on demand, some part of her will inevitably start to lose interest. The mystery and autonomy that drew her to you are gone. The independent, self-driven man she fell for has been replaced by someone who exists only to keep her happy. As romantic as surrendering completely sounds in fairy tales, in real life, it often turns passionate love into lukewarm familiarity. This is the paradox of female desire. She yearns for your love and attention, but she also needs you to remain your own man. Women are unconsciously attracted to men who maintain a sense of self. If you can't hold on to yourself, she can't truly respect you, and respect is the bedrock of lasting attraction. Her instinct might urge her to seek all of you, but if you actually hand yourself over wholesale, there's nothing left to chase or appreciate. The dynamic tension that creates attraction evaporates. Your job as a conscious, loving man is to protect the boundary of who you are, to maintain what originally drew her to you, especially when her emotions, or your own fear of upsetting her, tempt you to give it all away. In simple terms, don't extinguish your own flame just because she wants to engulf it. If you keep your flame burning brightly on its own, it will continue to warm and attract her. If you let it be smothered out, neither of you will benefit. Learning to sometimes disappoint a woman in a healthy, reasonable way is not about being cruel or indifferent. It's about understanding that in love, giving her everything she wants can mean failing to give her what she truly needs. What she wants in a heated moment might be all of your time, attention, and agreement. But what she needs for lasting respect and attraction is a man with a backbone, a man who stays true to himself. When you say no to an unreasonable request, you're not rejecting her as a person. That safety isn't just physical, it's psychological. She needs to know that you sends a subtle signal that you might bend when anything challenges you. On an unconscious level, she thinks, if he can't even hold his own with me, someone who loves him, how will he hold up in the face of real challenges or threats? Paradoxically, she feels safest when she knows you are strong enough to sometimes protect her even from her own whims. This is why women will sometimes. These aren't usually calculated, malicious tests. They're often unconscious. She might push a little, ask for something unreasonable, or act out in some way just to feel out the shape of your backbone. It's not because she wants you to fail. On a deeper level, it's because she needs to know that you won't. She is, often without realizing it, checking that your strength is real. And every time you fail these tests by caving in when you should have stood firm, something deep inside her confidence in you cracks. Let's be clear, having boundaries and the ability to say no does not mean being an uncaring jerk. It's entirely possible to disappoint her with compassion and respect. In fact, that is the art to aim for. Consider how different types of men might handle a woman's urgent but unreasonable request. The weak man pleads, "I'm so sorry, I guess I can cancel my plans if you really want me to," providing long justifications in hopes she won't be upset. This invites arguments and negotiation because it shows he's unsure of himself. The harsh man snaps, "No, I said no, end of story," and walks away without regard for her feelings. This might enforce a boundary, but it does so with coldness or anger, creating unnecessary conflict and hurt. The strong man calmly says, "I understand that's important to you. However, I won't be able to do that." His tone is firm, but kind. He acknowledges her feelings without giving in to her demand. This response is clear and final, yet still respectful. The weak response invites her to keep pushing, since he might relent on the 18th excuse. And it erodes her respect because he's basing his decision on fear of displeasing her. The harsh response may get the immediate result. Nothing happens, but it creates resentment and paints him as insensitive or antagonistic. The strong response strikes the balance. It shows respect for both her feelings and his own boundaries. Over time, it's that strong style that builds the deepest mutual respect. Setting boundaries will inevitably sometimes lead to her feeling disappointed or upset. And here is where many men falter, not in saying the initial no, but in weathering the storm afterward. You must learn to tolerate a woman's disappointment or momentary anger without immediately trying to fix it. Backpedal. Most men aren't actually overly generous when they cave in. Often, they simply can't stand seeing a woman upset. Her tears, her frustration, even her cold silence can be like daggers to a man who's been taught that it's his job to keep a woman happy at all times. This discomfort can trigger an almost panicked response. Okay, fine. Don't be upset, I'll do what you want. You have to recognize this impulse and resist it when you know that giving in would be against your better judgment. When you disappoint a woman appropriately, meaning for a good reason, to uphold an important principle or commitment, her unhappiness in that moment is not a crisis to fix. It's a natural reaction that she can and should manage. Your job is not to control or prevent her emotions, but to make decisions with integrity and let the emotions run their course. This doesn't mean you act indifferent to her feelings. You can be loving and understanding. But understanding does not mean capitulating. You might empathize. "I know you're upset that I have to work late instead of coming over tonight. I really wish I could see you too, but this project is crucial for me." Then you hold your ground. She is allowed to feel disappointed. You, as a strong man, are allowed to not be controlled by that disappointment. In the long run, temporary hurt feelings are often the price of long-term respect. For instance, she might sulk that you chose to hit the gym or work on your side business on a Saturday morning instead of lounging in bed with her. In the moment, she's unhappy, but over time, she will respect your discipline and priorities, and that respect will deepen her love, far more than if you always cast aside your plans just to keep her momentarily pleased. By choosing your health and growth sometimes over her immediate comfort, you're showing that you are a man worth being with, a man who can lead himself, thus potentially lead a family, a life, a future. Timing and consistency in setting boundaries matter enormously. It's far better to establish from the very beginning of a relationship that you will say no when necessary. If you start off by spoiling her with yes, yes, yes to everything, you set an expectation that you'll always bend. Later, when you finally do assert a boundary, she's likely to react as if something is wrong. You've changed, because in her mind, you breaking the pattern is a red flag. She might experience your newfound backbone as a loss or a betrayal, rather than the healthy correction it actually is. On the other hand, if from early on you show that you have no problem politely saying no or prioritizing certain things over her wishes at times, you set a healthy precedent. She learns to respect your autonomy from the start. Your time and attention become valuable currency because they're not given indiscriminately. Ironically, by being less available and a bit less compliant up front, you become more respected and valued as a partner. She realizes you're not another people pleaser desperate for her approval, but a man who gives of himself intentionally. Establishing this early also serves as a powerful screening tool. Pay close attention to how a woman responds when you first enforce a reasonable boundary or deliver a gentle disappointment. If she accepts your no with grace, or at least understands and moves on after cooling off, it's a strong sign of maturity. It shows she can respect you as an independent person with your own needs and priorities. If she explodes at you, guilt trips you endlessly, or immediately threatens to withdraw affection or even end the relationship over one instance of you sticking to your guns, that's a big red flag. It suggests she might be more interested in a servant than a partner, or that she has some growing up to do emotionally. Her reaction to being told no, especially if your request was reasonable, tells you more about her character and the future of the relationship than months of smooth sailing when you never rock the boat. It's often better to find out sooner rather than later if someone cannot handle any boundaries. In fact, by being willing to disappoint early on, you save both of you time and pain. You won't waste years with someone who only loves you when you're a doormat. Instead, you'll invest in someone who loves you. You might trade away your integrity, your true beliefs and desires, for acceptance, or trade your authenticity for her temporary smile, and give up your strength for the sake of avoiding any disagreement. Over time, this doesn't only kill her respect for you, it kills your respect for yourself. Learning to embrace the fact that sometimes she will be unhappy with you breaks this toxic pattern. You start developing an internal compass. Instead of asking, what will make her happy right now, you start asking, what do I believe is right? What's the best decision here for me in the long run? And then you act on that. Sometimes your decision will align with what she wants, and she'll be happy. Great. Sometimes it won't, and she'll pout or grumble. That's okay too, because your sense of self-worth no longer hinges on perpetual approval. You become anchored in your own values. Here's the beautiful irony. This kind of inner strength and independence immensely attractive. A man who doesn't need validation at every turn, who isn't shaken by emotional waves, who can be loving but also firm. That is a man women find magnetic. Why? Because very few men have that mix of strength and women often say they want a nice guy who's always available, always doting. But in reality, What truly ignites passion is a man who is kind and strong, caring and unmoved by manipulation. It's the classic scenario. She might complain that you're stubborn at times, but those very moments are when she secretly feels a surge of respect and attraction, sensing that you are your own man. The man who can respectfully hold his ground broadcasts several powerful signals at once. He has options and self-respect. If he were desperate or felt unworthy, he'd cave to keep the peace. He has standards and principles. There are lines he won't cross, things he won't tolerate, and values he won't abandon. He possesses emotional strength. Tears, anger, or tantrums won't derail him from doing what's right. He lives with integrity. What he says and does aligns with what he truly believes. All of these qualities are far more attractive and enduring than just being a yes man. Nice guys, in the unhealthy sense of the term, often end up frustrated because they do everything right by being agreeable, and then wonder why women either walk all over them or eventually leave them for someone more assertive. It's because there's a difference between genuine kindness and weakness. Real kindness is rooted in strength. You choose to be kind, but you won't be stepped on. Weak kindness is just fear of conflict dressed up as niceness. Women can feel that in their gut, even if they can't articulate it. None of this is to say you should become some domineering tyrant who is saying no. This isn't a license to be selfish about every little thing. Remember, balance and wisdom are key. If you swing from one extreme, people-pleasing pushover, to the other extreme, unyielding dictator, you haven't actually grown. You've just traded one insecurity for another. The goal is to become a man who knows his own mind and heart, and makes decisions from that authentic place. That means sometimes you'll disappoint her, and sometimes you'll gladly accommodate her. But each action will be a conscious choice, not an automatic fear-based reaction. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture beyond just your relationship with a woman. Learning to set boundaries and live authentically benefits every area of your life. It's amazing how improving this one aspect, your willingness to disappoint when necessary, can create a ripple effect. Career. In professional settings, many men become chronic people pleasers, especially when dealing with female colleagues or bosses, really with any colleagues. You might say yes to extra work you can't handle, agree to unrealistic deadlines, or accept tasks outside your role because you're afraid to say no. What happens? You end up overwhelmed and overlooked. Meanwhile, the colleague who respectfully pushes back or sets limits is seen as confident and often gains more respect and promotions. Just as in romance, competence and self-respect in the workplace breed respect from others. Those who never say no often get taken for granted, not rewarded. When you start asserting yourself professionally, you may be surprised to find people, including women in your workplace, actually value you more. They know you won't just be a dumping ground. If you say yes, it's because you mean it, not because you're a pushover. Friendships. Being authentic weeds out toxic friendships too. True friends respect your boundaries. If a friend only sticks around when you're always available and giving, but vanishes or gets angry when you assert yourself, was that person really a friend? By being willing to sometimes disappoint or disagree with friends, you ensure your friendships are based on mutual respect, not convenience. You'll attract people who appreciate you, not for what you do for them. Maybe you skip the gym or abandon personal projects because your partner or someone else demanded your time. Maybe you eat where someone else wants every time. When you stop doing that, you can prioritize your own health, hobbies, and goals without guilt. You'll be happier and more fulfilled as an individual. And a healthier, happier man is automatically a better partner when you are together with your woman. The most important transformation, though, happens internally. You become a man you can respect. When you look in the mirror, you see someone who stands for something, who isn't just blown around by everyone else's demands. That feeling is priceless. You no longer live with the constant anxiety of, Am I doing enough? Will she still like me if I don't do X? Instead, you operate from a calm center of knowing, I am enough, and I will do what I believe is right. From that place, you can actually give and love more freely because it's genuine. It's not tainted by resentment or fear. There's an ironic silver lining to all of this. By learning to occasionally disappoint women, you will eventually find you need to do it less often. Why? Because you'll naturally attract and build relationships with women, and people in general, who respect you and don't make unreasonable demands on you in the first place. When you present yourself as a man with a backbone, those who would trample your boundaries either fall away or adjust their approach. You'll likely end up with a partner who doesn't ask you to give up your whole life for her, and if she does ask for something and you say no, she accepts it. In a healthy relationship between mature individuals, each person can say no, and the love doesn't crumble. In fact, it strengthens. Each no that is respected and absorbed gracefully becomes a brick in a foundation of trust. I can trust that you'll respect yourself, and I can trust that I can be myself too. Both partners can then be authentic without walking on eggshells. Let's also consider the pursuit dynamic in romance. If you're the guy who never disappoints, who drops everything at a moment's notice for her, the pursuit is completely one-sided. You chasing her. There's no mystery, no sense of her ever having to work to win you. Some part of her might start to wonder why you're so eager to please. Doesn't he have anything else going on? Why is he so available? When you occasionally choose your priorities over her preferences, you subtly invite her to invest more in pursuing you as well. She's reminded that your time and attention are worth something, that she can't take you for granted. You'd be amazed how a woman might step up her own game to seek your approval and attention when she knows it's not guaranteed. Healthy relationships have a balance where both partners occasionally pursue and accommodate each other rather than one person doing all the chasing. Now, to avoid misunderstanding, being willing to disappoint doesn't mean be contrarian for ego's sake. This isn't about power trips. It's about honesty and balance. If your partner almost always compromises for you and rarely asks for anything big, then you being inflexible constantly isn't strength. It's selfishness. You have to use discernment. There will be times when a loving relationship means doing something you're not thrilled about because it genuinely matters to her and doesn't violate your principles. Strength is not a rigid refusal to ever bend. It's the wisdom to bend when it's truly appropriate and stand firm when it truly matters. Over time, you'll develop an intuitive sense for this. You'll learn from experience and maybe a few mistakes. The key is you're steering your life by your own wheel, not letting someone else hijack the course. Mistakes made while being true to yourself are lessons. Mistakes made by always abandoning yourself are tragedies. Every man eventually faces a choice in his relationships and in his life. Will you be true to yourself, or will you sacrifice yourself to keep others happy? In the context of love, the question becomes, do you want to be liked superficially all the time, or truly respected and loved for who you are? Being liked can be as simple as never rocking the boat, but being respected often means you have to stand firm on choppy waters. It might feel safer in the moment to always say, "Yes, dear, whatever you want." But that safety is an illusion. It leads to a dead end of lost identity and dwindling attraction. Real safety in a relationship comes when a woman knows her man is whole and solid, that he won't collapse under pressure, that he loves her, but loves himself too. The woman who is truly right for you won't be driven away by your occasional, authentic no. She will be drawn closer by it. She'll feel relief that she's with someone strong enough to handle life. In your strength, she finds security. In your boundaries, she finds a structure within which her feminine energy can relax. Always remember, the woman who cannot handle your authentic no is not the woman who would truly value your yes. A partner who demands a neutered version of you, a compliant servant, doesn't actually want you, just what you can do for her. On the other hand, a woman who respects your boundaries will cherish your affection because she knows it's given freely by a man who stays true to himself. A woman who appreciates your strength will eagerly support your journey because she knows it's a path you walk with integrity. Breaking out of the nice guy, always please mold can be scary. In fact, the first few times you hold your ground, you might feel terrified. A healthy woman doesn't break up with you because you had a boundary. In fact, she might start treating you with more affection and care, sensing consciously or unconsciously that she's with a man of principle. You'll notice your anxiety easing. That huge burden, feeling responsible for managing everyone's emotions but your own, will start to lift off your shoulders. With that burden gone, you have more energy to put into real love, real passion, and real purpose. By choosing authenticity over constant approval, you'll invite the kind of love that's built on truth. You won't have to act or walk on eggshells or keep exhaustively performing the role of perfect boyfriend. You can actually be yourself without fear. And that means the love you receive is for you, not for a facade you maintained. In the grand scheme of things, the journey we're talking about isn't just about pleasing or disappointing women. It's about becoming a whole man, a man who can give love without losing himself, a man who can lead and also listen, a man who is, at core, secure. This kind of man is rare and extremely valuable. That value is recognized by quality women, by employers, by friends, by everyone. You've moved from being a boy who needs validation to a man who offers value. So, the next time you feel that knot in your stomach because you know you should say no to her request, but you're afraid to, remember this message. Take a breath and calmly assert yourself. It might be uncomfortable for a few minutes or hours, but the long-term rewards for both of you are worth it. You're not just saying a simple word. You're expressing, "This is who I am, and I stand by it." If you found truth in this message, if it resonated with that quiet part of you that's tired of pretending, then carry it forward. Share it with someone who needs to learn that real kindness isn't the absence of boundaries, it's the presence of respect for self and others. And finally, remember, your backbone matters. Your boundaries matter. Your willingness to be disliked in the short term for doing what's right matters far more than you know. In the end, that's what lays the groundwork for genuine, lasting love. The woman who truly loves you wants you to be whole, strong, and true to yourself, because that is the man she can respect, trust, and love with all her heart.